As long as she doesn't flinch me, I'm gonna be able to just roast this thing in the sun with the Fire Blast. So I'm able to take the Air Slash, but I fucking miss my Fire Blast. Easily take out this Porygon 2 with Fire Blast. You know, if I just bloody hit a Fire Blast. Yeah, pause YouTube, 6ftHax here. Half for you guys today. Pretty fun OU Wi-Fi battle I had against ChocoLoco. Now, this was the only battle I had time for today, around the time that I was looking for battles. I will try to look for some around the time this is being uploaded. I also did add a new section to my Discord where you guys can potentially send me teams that you would like me to use. I tried to do that through emails before, but I couldn't keep up with that. I figure if I put it on the Discord, I may be able to keep up with it a little bit easier. So if you guys have some cool teams you would like me to use, then feel free to send them in my Discord. That is also where I mainly take battle requests. So if you guys do enjoy this video, make sure to hammer that like button down below, and let's go ahead and get this started. So I'm using a pretty cool Mega Charizard Y balance team because I gotta get Charizard Y to redeem himself, and going into this matchup he had no answers for my Charizard Y. However, though, at the same time, I don't really have a good answer for his Greninja, because depending on what form moves Greninja is running, it could very well just plow through my team if I give it a free switch in. So I really have to be careful with that. So I'm going to be leading off with my Toxapex, as he actually ends up leading off with Magnezone, and obviously I don't want to stay in here and take a potential Specs, Thunderbolt, or Volt Switch, so I'm going to pull a switch directly on out into my Garchomp, as he actually pulls a switch into his not Gengar, his Gliscor here. I'm guessing he thought I would try to switch into my Heatran, which does make sense. I did think about that, but I really didn't want him to get momentum off of a Volt Switch, which is why I made the aggressive switch into my Garchomp, as I am then going to switch into my Tapu Bulu here, knowing that there's not typically anything Gliscor carries to be able to one-shot Tapu Bulu, so I felt pretty comfortable in just switching it in here. The cool thing about Bulu is that I am Adamant Sword Zance with superpower, so not even Ferrothorn is going to be safely switching into me. So expecting him to either go for the Protect or try to bring in the Ferrothorn here, I'm going to pull a switch directly into my Charizard Y, and we got Balor in here. Shouts out if you guys do get the nickname reference. And even though I am a timid set, Flamethrower still does so much damage to his team. Like, the only real switch-ins he has to my Charizard Y are Salamence, which can easily just be Dragonium Z or Flynium Z with Dragon Dance, and then Azumarill, which I'm expecting Azumarill to be a belly drum set, because I really haven't seen Assault Vest Azumarill running around in OU lately. So was really positive that anything that he decided to switch in here was going to get absolutely smacked right across the face with this Flamethrower. So yeah, finally learned my lesson to not have Fire Blast on Charizard, because knowing my luck, I would have missed Fire Blast here, and then I would have had to deal with a max HP Salamence. Thankfully, though, Flamethrower doesn't miss, and it still does a whole lot of damage to this Salamence. So I'm gonna make a switch directly into my Heatran here. I almost half expected him to want to go straight for the Flynium Z. Also, if he did want to go for a Dragon Dance, this would have been a potential perfect chance for him to do that, because I really didn't want to risk him winning a speed tie or being scarfed if he was scarfed, and then maybe knocking out or just weakening my Charizard in general. As it turns out that he's got the Draco Meteor, and this is really good for me, because if he's got Draco, that means he's special, and if he's special, he doesn't have Earthquake. If he doesn't have Earthquake, he's got nothing to hit my Heatran with. At the same time, though, I guess he could have been mixed with Earthquake, so me staying in here might have been a little bit risky, but either way, I take that risk, and I'm able to get up my Stealth Rocks, which is absolutely amazing, because it should be here for the remainder of this battle, unless he does have Defog on his Salamence, which I guess is kind of viable, but I haven't really seen Defogments in OU. They're normally Dragon Dance with Flynium or Dragonium Z from what I've ran into. So I'm going to switch directly back into my Bulu here. Again, Bulu should be able to just consistently check this Gliscor, because again, there's nothing he should be able to do to me. I was pretty close to actually switching into my Mew here, because I do have the Ice Beam on Mew, but I really didn't want to risk that if he did decide to go for the Toxic, as you saw him go for. So I'm going to take this chance to go for the Sword Dance, thinking that he would actually either go for the Protect or try and go for the Toxic, expecting me to switch directly back into my Charizard Y. And with him staring down a +2 Adamant Bulu, he's got no safe switch-ins to this monster now. So this is the same category as my Charizard Y right now, where I can potentially just get a KO or weaken whatever he decides to switch into this. I'm pretty sure that a +2 superpower should be able to knock out Ferrothorn, if I'm not mistaken. but I am able to knock out the incoming Salamence, which is really great because he doesn't have defog on Gliscor, which means now his only potential defogger is gone. And if he does want to try to bring in the Ferrothorn here to get up his Stealth Rocks, I still have the superpower, and then there's a chance I could have the Fighting Z with superpower, so I can just literally OHKO Ferrothorn and it's gonna do nothing in this game. So he gets a free switch into the Greninja, which obviously I am terrified of it having Gunk Shot because it is a pretty common move on Greninja. So I switch directly into my Toxapex here as he actually ends up going for the Ice Beam. I knew I could live in Ice Beam, but I really didn't want to risk him having the Gunk Shot. So either way, Toxapex was by far my safest switch into this monster, and hoping that I could force him out here, I'm gonna try and get up a layer of T-Spikes. If I'm able to get up T-Spikes, that means I'm gonna be able to start getting consistent residual damage on the Greninja, and I'm also going to be able to pressure the Azumarill if it's a Z belly drum set or just a regular belly drum set in general, as he pulls out the extra sensory, which I don't think I've seen extra sensory on Greninja in a while. So the fact that this thing has extra sensory now means my Toxapex is not an answer to this monster, and unfortunately I'm giving him grassy terrain recovery, so the Stealth Rock's chip damage literally does not help me at all here, as he's gonna then just knock me out with another extra sensory. I really did not want to risk him switching up moves and going for the Dark Pulse as I tried to switch into my Mew, and even if I had tried to switch into my Tapu Bulu here, Grassy Terrain I think would have ran out, or I would have put it back up for him, and then I'm Toxic, and then he can Ice Beam me, and I still don't know what his final move is. So this does give me a free switch back into my Charizard, however, and as long as he doesn't have the Rock Slide or he doesn't flinch me with the Dark Pulse, I should be able to just click Flamethrower once more, and something's gonna get absolutely roasted in the sun. Now there was a good chance that he might have had the Rock Slide, so I was thinking about pulling a double switch into my Heatran or into my Garchomp, but both of those get beat by Azumarill because I can't outspeed them, and well, I can't outspeed them if they have priority, but I can't damage him is what I'm trying to say, and Garchomp doesn't knock it down in any one hit, and then he can play rough me, and then he can waterfall my Heatran. So I thought that making the aggressive play by staying in here and flamethrowing was by far my better play, as I am going to be able to chew this Aqua Jet, which still does about 50%, which is kind of insane, man. Azumarill is pretty powerful, and I'm going to be able to knock him out with the Solar Beam, which is really nice because this was his second only kind of switch into my Charizard. Why? Even Greninja still takes like 70 or 80% from Flamethrower, which is absurd. So I'm gonna stay in here Flamethrower again because I kind of expected him to either want to go for the Protect or maybe try and go for the Toxic if he was able to live, but it does. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a timid Flamethrower Charizard. That's not Modest Fire Blast or Timid Fire Blast, that's a Flamethrower, and Gliscor just drops. So in comes the Greninja, which might be able to knock me out with the Dark Pulse at this range of HP, so I really don't want to risk that, and I'm going to make the switch into my Mew. Mew at this point is not really doing anything for me. I can't do anything to the Ferrothorn outside of Burn It. I don't have the Taunt, and my only offensive move on this Mew is the Ice Beam, so obviously I'm not going to be damaging the Magnezone either. I guess getting the burn on those two mons would be kind of nice, but it's not really going to help me in this matchup. As he loses his water typing, this is really good for me because it now makes Ice Beam neutral, and if he doesn't knock me out with his Dark Pulse, or if he doesn't flinch me, I can then get off a little bit of chip damage to combined with the toxic damage, as I do get a little lucky here and I get a crit on that Ice Beam. To be 100% honest with you guys, I don't think that crit mattered. Yeah, I got off about a little extra bit of damage and I put him in range of where 2 turns of toxic is going to knock him out, but either way I was going to sack off my Mew here and then bring in my Garchomp to either revenge kill the Greninja because Chomp is scarfed, or force him out, in which case when Greninja came back in it would be at around 15-20-ish%, so it would get knocked out by 2 turns of toxic damage anyways, and I still have Bulu in the back to sack off to be able to rack up those 2 turns of toxic damage. So yeah, really don't think that crit mattered, as on the double down I bring in my Charizard. Why? I did kind of expect him to bring in the Magnezone if it was scarfed, but he actually ends up bringing in the Ferrothorn, and I'm gonna click Flamethrower again, and this is about to just die because this is 4 times super effective in the sun. Stab, and it just goes down. So if his Magnezone is a choice scarf set, he will be able to outspeed me and knock me out with the Thunderbolt, but because he will be locked into the Thunderbolt, that gives me a free switch into my Garchomp, and because I am a ground type, I will be able to outspeed him because I am scarfed and hit him with the 4 times super effective Earthquake, but he is not scarfed, and Charizard Y is able to pick up the final KO in this battle. So I think Charizard Y definitely redeemed himself from the previous battle where I used him in. And I kind of want to point something out. If you guys look at the team preview, and if you are very knowledgeable in OU, you could tell from this game that Charizard Y was going to be able to come in and just flamethrower and weaken any of his checks or counters that he might have had on his team. And this is why I think team preview is just such a huge thing currently right now in 7th Gen. I really feel like team preview is even more important right now in 7th Gen than it was in previous gens, because you're able to see the giant threat that your opponent has and you're able to play around it. And I want to know what your guys' opinions are on team preview in general in 7th Gen right now. So let me know in the comment section below. If you guys did enjoy the quick fun battle, make sure to hammer that like button down below. And with that being said, I will see you all tomorrow. So later, everybody.
Cause my brain and heart are both tied in the knot, and this hinders me from crying a lot. This causing me to show no emotion. But when I said I cared, I wasn't joking. But I guess it's too late for me to become broken. For now, I'm living with no more pain, tears, or hoping. I'm just coasting. Yeah, I said I'm coasting. No more pain, tears, and hoping. For real.